Is it recording? It is recording. Awesome. Oh. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Josh, and I am a videographer and content creator based in Southwest Germany, and today we are talking about podcasting. If you've been around this channel, you might have figured out that I work for a school. I actually serve at a school called Black Forest Academy. I'm stoked to be able to do things that I love in service of the Lord and in service of this organization. And so one of those things that I've been able to put together is a podcast along with my coworker, Nathan. We've built the BFA Life Podcast, which I'll link in the description below. So today we're just going to talk about how we set it up and some best practices that we figured out from our experience running this podcast now for the past maybe 2 years. Yeah, so let's get right into it. So let's start with microphones. If you're thinking about starting a podcast, if you're another school or an organization or a nonprofit or just somebody who wants to start a podcast, you might think, I have to get a microphone. Well, trust me, we've had to get creative, and in some instances, we wanted to record podcasts and didn't have access to our studio. And so we've actually recorded, We've actually recorded whole podcasts on our phones, just using the voice memo app. And believe it or not, it sounds really good. I was really surprised at the quality that these phones can pick up. As long as you just throw a blanket over your head and record looking like an idiot under some sheets, it actually works really, really well. If you want to start setting up a corner in your office or a corner at your house where you can record, then I would suggest starting with a Bluetooth microphone. Now, we actually started this podcast using this little guy. I guess the brand is blue, and it's called Snowball Ice. And this thing sounded really good, and it's nice because we can sit 2 people up close to this thing, and it works really well. So when we started wanting to get more than 2 people in a conversation, we quickly discovered that if we try to record on that Bluetooth, not Bluetooth, I'm sorry. Did I say Bluetooth before? I did, didn't I? Right now, we are using this 4 microphone setup. The mics were very affordable on Amazon. The mini soundboard, the USB interface soundboard that we bought, is also very affordable and didn't take a lot of time or money to set this up. Especially if you're a school and you have a little bit of budget, it was well worth it for us. That way, our guests have their own microphone. You can just get better sound quality when every person has their own microphone. So definitely figure out what works best for you. If you want to start small and work your way up to a 4-person setup like the one that we have, there's nothing holding you back. As long as you have a smartphone, you can start a podcast. So next, you're going to want to find a nice, quiet, comfortable place to talk. And a lot of times when you're talking to somebody, especially if you don't know them very well, it's nice to be able to sit at a table or something that you can set a cup of coffee or tea on so that they're comfortable and they're relaxed in your presence and they can speak freely. Putting a blanket over your head with your phone is one thing, but when you have a guest, they might feel pretty ridiculous doing that with you. So we are in the basement of the main building here at this school, and so we have this little office that we've kept very modular. I'm moving furniture around in here all the time. We kind of off to this side have our podcasting table that can slide in or out, and we can kind of position the mics however we need to. The reason why it's set up around a table is just so that it feels like a normal situation for people to talk at. Now this next part won't apply to you if you're not a Mac user. We are Mac users here at BFA, and so we use GarageBand to edit our podcasts, and I can go into that a little bit in this video. I could get more into depth if you're something you're interested in. There's little tips and tricks that I have as far as using GarageBand to edit your podcast. Now, I know that I started talking right away about gear that you need, but that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is to have a plan, have a direction, have a purpose for your podcast, and at least at the beginning, start with a very specific topic or very specific goal. That'll keep you on track. And even as you're talking to people, if they have a really specific directive as far as what the conversation is about. It's really annoying as a listener to listen to these conversations that trail off onto all these rabbit trails. And so pre-planning is very important. And I'm not the best at this. We kind of like it to be a little more ad hoc, a little more, spontaneous, if you will. But we could do with a little more pre-planning. That's something that I've discovered. So I would at least think about what is the outcome of the conversation. Where do you want to arrive? And then whatever happens from start to finish in between is great, but at least we all have a good goal that we're heading towards. One thing my coworker Nathan always says, and is really true, is that people connect with people. And that sounds simple, but basically it means when you have a guest, don't just ask them to give you a bunch of facts about their life, about themselves. Ask them to tell you a story about when they felt A, B, or C. Ask them to tell you a story that pertains to the topic of the conversation that you're having. And then ask them how do they feel in that moment. Those types of interactions are much more engaging for the audience than the list of facts about their life that they could rattle off very easily, and then the conversation would be really short. Basically what I'm trying to say is plan. Plan better than I did for this video. That's a good rule of thumb. So once you have the goal in mind and you're ready to record, or you have the goal in mind and a guest that you're going to be interviewing, before you hit record, make sure that you test all of your equipment so that you don't later discover that there was an issue with one of the wires, or there was a loose connection, or something was going wrong. Make sure that you do a full test of all of the microphones that you're using. That has been learned the hard way, I'll tell you that. What I also like to do before I hit record is just have a little conversation with your guest saying, don't worry if you mess up, don't worry if you have to pause and think, and don't worry if you need to restate something. This is all going to be edited. We want to hold the integrity of the messages and the reality of the conversation, but some of the ums or the mistakes or the misspeaks can be edited out. Here's something that's also really hard for me to do, but I find very valuable. Concentrate on the conversation, especially if you are the host of the podcast. I guess I can only speak for myself, but I'm always getting distracted by, somebody made a noise outside, or, I wonder if I turn this setting on or that setting off, or, I wonder how I'm going to edit that, or I wonder how that's going to come out in the final product. Just talk to them like a normal human being. Be mindful of the direction that you're headed, but concentrate on the conversation. Don't be thinking about the equipment or the software or any of that. That's why you plan. That's why you test it all beforehand, so that you have peace of mind to just have the conversation. Okay, so I want to focus on music for a second. I love when there's music in podcasts, and that's something that I sometimes will get distracted from what I'm listening to and start listening to how did they integrate music in a way that helps you get invested in the story, or transitions you to the next topic, or introduces a concept. Music is super important and a very useful tool when constructing the final product of your podcast. And so the place where I get music personally is Artlist. I can link that. I'll probably link a lot of things in the description, so make sure you go down and check that out. But yeah, music. Think about music. I love integrating music into my podcasts, and something that you should really heavily consider. How do we interview people remotely? How do you record a Skype call? And this was actually before the pandemic, before I even knew what Zoom was. But how do you record the audio from a call like that? And we found, actually I didn't find it, my colleague Nathan found it, this website called Zencastr. Zencastr, you can invite multiple people into a call, and it will record each person's audio natively, and then you can download it. You're not getting the distortion and lower quality that you hear on the other end. You're actually getting whatever their microphone picked up. So that is an incredible piece of software, also free. There's probably different levels that you could purchase, I don't know, more people on a call or whatever, but I think the largest call that we did was maybe 6 or 7 people. So, and we used Zencastr and it worked flawlessly. So if you want to do remote podcasts like that, Zencastr, we have been very happy with it. So yeah, you should check it out. So probably a big question that was in my mind and is probably in your mind is, how do you actually host this online? How do you get this posted somewhere to be listened to by people? And a really amazing way to do that is a place called Anchor.fm. Anchor is, when we found Anchor, it was like, thank you. Yes, okay, we can do this. It is a great, really user-friendly tool to host your podcast. So you upload it to Anchor and it will actually push your podcast to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and I think there's 8 platforms total that it will push your podcast to. And so, and it's completely free. You can monetize it too. We don't do that, but yeah, it's almost too good to be true. So I really like Anchor, and I think it is the best place to host your podcast. And I think that's all for this video. I could go more in depth in some of these things. If you want to know more about how we edit our podcasts, or how we actually set up our recording setup in detail, or how to upload things to Anchor, or how to use Zencastr, just let me know. I'm going to link all of these things in the description below, like I said before. So check out those items. If you're thinking of setting up a podcast, let me know. I'd love to help you out. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.